What's up, legends, and welcome back to another episode of the Mantastic Show. On today's show, we're going to be talking about an area that so many men in business neglect, and that's their health, or what we call the Shirts Off Club.
SOC, huge part of what we do.
SOC, S-O-C, Shirts Off Club. The way we look at it, right, like you're one of two people. You're either a shirts on person, and typically if you're a shirts on person, you probably don't like taking your shirt off. You know, subconsciously, you know, whether it's going to the beach, taking your shirt off in front of your partner, it's an area you've been neglecting, putting on some kilos, not feeling the best about yourself. And quite often you just haven't got a system or you haven't prioritized, right?
For sure. And I mean, shirts on is one thing, but even a lot of guys, and I know I was here for so long, even the idea of my shirt on didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Because of how I wore my clothes, because of, you know, I remember driving to the Sunshine Coast to work one day, and I had my seatbelt rubbing on my gut. And I'm thinking there's definitely something that's not quite right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, shirts on is you can't think of anything worse than taking your shirt off.
Yeah. And it's a natural thing, right? Like in business, because if you're doing 50, 60, 70-hour weeks, as a lot of people do when they build their business, it's like health, like it's going to come later. So it's like naturally the Shirts Off Club diminishes, the Shirts Off on Club becomes present.
Yeah, and really you're one or two guys. You're a guy that wants to leave their shirt on, or another guy that can't wait to take their shirt off because of the kind of shape you're in.
Exactly. The Mantastic standard is definitely not shirts on. It's been shirts off. And for us, that comes across four particular areas. Obviously, you hear this, right? And when you first hear the saying Shirts Off Club, you know, you think visible. And for us when we were younger, it solely was a visible. Visible is like if you take your shirt off and you stand on the scales, or maybe you take your shirt off, you stand in front of the mirror, take your shirt off at the beach, you get an in-body scan, a reading. It's visibly how you look with your shirt off.
It's your muscle. It's your little amount of body fat. It's really your shirts off energy.
Yeah, it's your shirts off energy. And so obviously this side is important. And I think it's important to set yourself a standard here, because we've all got a standard, right? Like if you woke up 20 kilos heavier tomorrow than you are today, you'd get back to your standard now for sure. And so there's the visible element, which training and nutrition will come back to, obviously makes a massive impact on. But there's also the invisible side of SOC, which has three main parts to it. Invisible side is, okay, cool, you can look good with your shirt off, but you've also got your health, right? And the invisible side is kind of like what's going on under the hood.
You know, a good example of this is bodybuilders.
Yeah.
How many bodybuilders are in impeccable condition?
But not healthy.
Unhealthy. They'd get their bloods done and it would be a horror movie.
Yeah, I remember for me when I was younger, spending time with Benny. Benny's one of our good mates. He passed from cancer, but we were having a breakfast and he goes, "Tommy, you're the most in shape, nutrient deficient person I've ever met." And at the time I ordered 4 poached eggs on toast, 2 bits of white toast, and I'd been training for a bodybuilding comp. I knew the calories, I knew the protein. Visibly, I looked fantastic. Like I was full shirts off. I was hitting the solarium at that point in time, so I was relatively tanned. But on the invisible side, my blood work, because what he said to me is like, "Mate, get your blood work done. Find out what's going on under the hood." I got my blood work back, and it's like I was deficient in a whole heap of things. So I looked good, but wasn't healthy. Funnily enough, at the time, right, I'm abusing caffeine. Like, you know, I'm not eating the best, but I look good. But I'm drinking caffeine to give me, like good energy. And Benny said to me, he goes, "Most in shape, nutrient deficient person. No wonder you're drinking so much coffee to get you through the day, get your blood done." Which turns out I'm deficient in some things, got my diet a whole heap better. And then from an energy point of view, had way more energy, felt a whole heap better, performed a whole heap better, massive impact on business. So one of the areas now when we look at this isn't just having a vision for this part, but it's also how do you want to feel? And so many business owners feel like shit.
Mate, for sure. I would go as far as saying that for me, even though, you know, we have a pretty high standard on the visible, the invisible is more important.
100%.
And more often than not, what we achieve with the invisible actually makes the visible possible.
Yeah.
You know, we look at function next. In my 20s, you know, of course in my 20s, I should function better than what I do now. But the reality is once every 2 months, I had a back spasm because I didn't prioritize it. I didn't go and get massage or physio. And one thing I know about myself is I'm not going to get a trigger ball and trigger ball myself at night. I do a large amount of training and traveling, and I put my body through some stuff. So what is my system around having great function and not just being okay with living in pain.
Yeah.
Where I looked through my 20s, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Pain became normal to me, and you actually start to numb it out.
Yeah.
And until it goes away, you don't know how good this can be.
Yeah. And I think as guys, we just have this acceptance mentality, whether it's my lower back, my hips, my posture, that this is how I move now. I'm 40, I'm 50, whatever it might be. But it's just a standard that you've set yourself for both of us, having a good EP, having good physio, like we invest in our body like an athlete would, so that we move the way that we want to. Also remember, from a visible point of view, if you're 20 kilos heavier, obviously that's massively going to impact your function.
Huge. And thanks for rubbing that in, because when I was 20 kilos heavier, that's a large reason why my hip flexors when sitting down cop such a punishing. So thanks very much for
my pleasure
for bringing that up.
So have a vision for your visible in terms of we've got a vision for how you want to look, have a vision for how you want to feel, have a vision for how you want to move. I want to touch base on the invisible side now of headspace, which is really like, the place that in R&R we talk on having like a peak state, right? And I think the invisible side in terms of how you put together a training and nutrition plan is going to impact how you think and how you feel. So a couple of points I want to touch base on. I think as a business owner, it's really easy, throughout the week to have a couple of glasses of red, or there's been pressure, it's been a stressful day. I'll open up a bottle of wine with my partner, only to not sleep well and the next day not wake up in the best headspace. So there's that side, like alcohol definitely affects headspace. Yeah. Equally, there's a side of headspace where if your training plan is on point, like I look at G, for example, and G, you can share your system in a second, but for G, like soccer, running, training is a big outlet. It's not like he's been in great shape for the last decade. If we can please insert the 10-year transformation photos at the moment, I think it's incredible, man. But often a big part of why you train is for how you think and feel as well, right?
I mean, if you have a look at my visible and the standard there, I like to sit around 8 to 10% body fat. Mm-hmm. And you'd say I've been there for about 10 years.
Decade,
yeah. For about 10 years. It's funny because people hear that and learn how I do it, which for me and part of my system is 2 weight training sessions and 4 cardio sessions. Mm-hmm. And they say, you're doing too much cardio. Like, you're doing too much cardio. You could be in such better shape and have an even better body fat percentage, put in less effort if you did less cardio and you did more weights. The reason why that doesn't work for me and it doesn't work for my system is because of what cardio does for my headspace. Now, that could be different for them to what it is for me.
Yeah.
But I know, and you know this when we go and run an event, I know for me, going for a run in the morning before we have a big day, like today I went for a big walk before coming and doing this filming session, it just puts me in the right headspace.
Yeah.
And that's why I built it into my system to still be able to achieve this, because I understand what's even more important than that for me is this.
Yeah.
Because that affects my business. It affects my relationship. It affects that's why we call it a force multiplier.
Yeah.
It affects everything.
You mentioned a great word there, which is system. And so when you look at system, right, I think there's a big part. If you're a shirts on person, chances are that you've bought into somebody else's system where you've done it for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month. Then you've fucked up one day, you mess up on a Wednesday and you think, I'll go back to it on a Monday. Reality is you're trying to follow someone else's system, but you haven't tailored it to you and based off your likings. When we look at a system, you need to build for it to be shirts off. It should be something that you can do, for a decade and not just for a week.
Because you look forward to it.
Because you look forward to it. And it should also encompass all of these, because if you're following somebody else's system and their highest value is on looking great and you're restricting calories, you don't feel good, then these might be off. But if you're building yourself a system, which is where we've really lent in and put a lot of work, where it encompasses all 4 areas, visibly, how you want to look, so you feed in your training sessions, your nutrition, the visible aspects, so your cardio sessions for how you want to look. You're eating, as we always say, more foods that make your body say thank you and not fuck you. You're eating really great stuff. You're getting good sleep. So you've got this vision for how you want to feel. You're doing and investing into your body, whether that's you want to self-do it or whether you want to get the board around you like what we've done, to have the physio, to have your body, moving the way that you want to. And then that's also based off the headspace that you want to keep. Like one of our big rules, not drinking on school nights, is we love business, right? Like we love business. And in order to show up and have great energy for business, but also be in a good mood, drinking a bottle of red wine the night before doesn't equal that.
No way. And the reality is I enjoy a drink. I love having a drink. But for me, if I do that at the expense of my business, it's not the best use of having a drink. Where historically in our 20s, we didn't mind it as much. So,
I didn't know this system then.
well, the system didn't exist then, did it? So yeah, you're exactly right.
And I think as a business owner, right, like if you're looking at this and you're thinking, okay, I've neglected my health, let's have a look at some practical steps you can take. From a visible point of view, you want to get some data. So we're both a big fan of getting an in-body scan. All that means is it's kind of like the P&L of your body. So what you want to do is get an in-body scan, figure out how much of you is muscle, how much of you is fat. You'll get your weight on the scales. That gives you a benchmark of where you're at. And then you can figure out where you want to go. And then as you're factoring in your training plan, you can build yourself a system that's going to work for you. Whether you weight train once, twice, 3 times a week, whatever that might be, whether you run, whether you do steps, you can build that in, get the nutrition guidelines you need to take you from where you're at to where you want to go. If your energy has been, not quite where you want it to be, then, or if you haven't, in the last 12 months, let alone decade, gone and got your blood work done, you can go get your bloods done, figure out what's going on under the hood, and then figure out where you're deficient. And then equally, your nutrition plan can also start to line up. Engage your nutritionist if you need to start to put together a plan A based off obviously what you like, but B, to really, nourish your body from the inside out so that you've got good energy. And that will also affect how hard you train. If you're not moving the way that you want to, go see a physio, go see an EP, and then, start to get a structured training plan. For me, one of the best things I did was get a structured training plan, getting my posterior chain strong again. And, you start to, identify and rectify by strengthening and lengthening the areas that you need to. And all of a sudden you start to move better, which obviously affects your training. So visibly you look better. And if your headspace hasn't been where you want it to be, we've got a great R&R video which you can watch about getting out of the pressure cooker. But maybe something to think about is if you haven't been sleeping well, or the drinks have been creeping in during the week, you have been drinking on school nights or more than you probably should, then it's really hard to do the right thing with the wrong headspace. So just a couple of areas to measure and really become self-aware of.
And it's a lot simpler than what people think.
Yeah.
In this world of SOC, health and fitness, which we've been in for a very long time.
Yeah.
There is so much information out there and there's so much shit out there that can sway you off track.
Yeah.
And really, if we're to refine the key areas that you want to get sorted, especially on the visible side, is you want to get your nutrition on track.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get your training plan on track.
Yeah.
If you can get those 2 areas dialed and they suit you, everything shifts.
Yeah.
A good example with nutrition, and you would remember this, is I don't cook. I actually hate cooking. Almost as much as I hate going to the supermarket, they would be very close on par together. So part of my nutrition plan for what I consume and for what I eat involves 0 cooking. Breakfast-wise, there's 2 to 3 options I think of. Lunch, 2 to 3 options I think of. Dinner, my partner, I think she's the world's most incredible cook. So she takes care of that. But my system is all built around nutrition. For a long time, and when I was in the best shape I've ever been in, I had a meal prep company. And remember when I got the pastas?
Yeah.
I love pasta. Even though Tommy's Italian, I was eating pasta twice a day. So Tommy, for a week, went on my pasta diet, right? He lasted 2 days. And he called me and said, how the fuck do you eat all that pasta? What happened was Tommy engaged in my system, which was never going to work. Genuinely, I was at 6% body fat eating pasta twice a day, just because I enjoyed it and it was such a great part of my system. So I think when you're looking at this, only look internally. Don't look externally. And start to think, what do I enjoy? Because what you enjoy, you are so much more likely to do. When we talk visible versus invisible, often you can get in better shape and it'll actually be at the detriment of your energy if you don't do this properly.
Correct.
We've had people in the past in a massive calorie deficit or they overtrain and it actually affects their energy in a negative way. That's why building your system to be congruent with enjoying it and long-term success is just so important here.
100%. And the key part is I think what you can do sustainably is really important. I think building a system for you to win, like why would you play a game that you can't win? You need to build a system for you to win. And then, like I look at what you've done. You use a nutritionist to get a great base structure Monday, like we both have, win Monday through to Friday lunchtime, weekends are more freestyle. And then the actual side of training is based around what we can commit to every single week. Like I know for me, weight training 5 times a week with the business that we're running and the stuff that we're doing, it's not impossible. It's just not the highest and best use of my time, nor do I want to do it. And whereas if I look at hitting it 2 to 3 times a week, super achievable. Yeah. What I want to do across running, the steps that I want to get, the way that I eat, built a system that's tailored. And so part of your role as being the president of the Shirts Off Club, aside from taking care of these 4 areas, is building yourself sustainable systems like a business has. You build yourself sustainable systems that will work for you, because eventually when you get it right, staying in shape becomes effortless. We've gone on boys' trips before, and it's like, even if we've had a week or 2 of not following it, it's like, well, what's going to bring us back? Doing something radical and drastic, or just following the system? And when you build a system that works for you, it's the best feeling in the world. And you actually enjoy the process.
Because no doubt, I can guarantee that you're going to fall off track.
Yeah.
As years go on and you get busier and you have more hectic weeks, along the journey, you're going to sway off track. The beauty about having a system that you enjoy is you know what to go back to.
Yeah.
And too often we hear successful business owners from a financial sense come into a Mantastic or just general conversations we're having. I'm just too busy. Business is too hectic for me to prioritize this. And I'll ask you one question. Are there other guys and other people that are in better shape than you that run more successful businesses than you? And of course the answer is yes. So if they're doing it, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
And I'll share why. Because you're not prioritizing it. And I remember that exact thing happened to me.
Yeah.
In my 20s, I was 20 kilos fatter than what I should be. And I'm having conversations with these other business owners, that one guy in particular that is 20 years older than me, such better shape than me, more hectic in terms of what he's doing day to day, but he's prioritizing it. So
can you really have a fantastic life if you're not in shape? Like if you're not taking care of your health?
No.
I don't think you can either. It's such a big and a key area. And the beautiful part about this area is, many other areas like business, right? There's all these other different things that you can't control. Shirts Off Club, you directly control. How you look, how you feel, how you move, and how you think, so to speak, is a direct reflection of what you're putting in. And the good news for everyone watching, good news for us too, is like at any time you can put a line in the sand, go enough is enough. I'm going to do something different, get something different. I'm going to get some data. I'm going to do something about this. The irony, and this is what we'll wrap up with, we talk 5 years growth in 12 months. Like we're constantly dealing with 7-figure business owners who obviously have business goals and things that they want to achieve. Ironically, some of our greatest success stories, if not most of our greatest success stories, have had the transformation in the Shirts Off Club area, which, by the way, like to get momentum in, you can get in your first month. Like literally within a month, you can be feeling good. Within 6 months, you can change your whole life. And so many of the guys that we've had come in, it's not been a marketing or a sales or a delivery and fulfillment type thing in business. Instead, it's been like a personal operating system. It's been a personal standard. And so by engaging, obviously, R&R and the battery, which we've got a separate video on, but also by starting to take control of Shirts Off Club and get momentum in terms of like dropping body fat and feeling better. And we've had clients who've lost 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 kilos and above, but also like taking control of the invisible, the energy, getting blood work readings that from sprint to sprint are getting better, starting to move better, and, have more habits that are, I guess, are helping as opposed to hurting the headspace side. It's really incredible the effect that has on business, the effect that has on family, who you show up as at home, the effect that has, in terms of networking and building your personal brand, the confidence that you get by becoming a great coat hanger for your clothes. Sock just has so many benefits.
I mean, in Mantastic, we talk about a front stab. And a front stab is a true mate because they don't stab you in the back, they stab you in the front. And for me personally, what changed this entire philosophy is somebody I respected most gave me a front stab and called me a fat fuck. So here's Tommy and I's front stab to you. If you're embarrassed to take your shirt off right now and you're not loving the way you're looking, your energy, your function, your headspace, it's time to change it, because as Tommy said before, it's one of the parts of our framework that is within your control. And it's just a choice whether you choose to or not to.